This lecture will cover Chapter 1 in the textbook, and the title of this chapter is From Problem Solving to Solution Building. So let's get started. This chapter started with an interesting interview of Rosie, which was a pseudo-client character that the students were asking and interviewing. And so, as those students were asking Rosie questions, most of their questions were either about problems, so what Rosie's problems may be, what mistakes Rosie had made, what were the causes for her mistakes or for her problems, what were some of the solutions, and what feelings she experienced. So these are the categories of questions the students asked. Keep this in mind because as this chapter develops further and as you move into Chapter 2, you will be able to unpack how this compares to the other newer, better way of asking and finding information that you will learn in this course. So stages of problem solving, this is what this chapter is focusing on. And so the first stage in problem solving has to do with describing the problem and collecting the data. So figuring out what exactly is going on and what's the problem here, and finding whatever information supports that. And then assessing the problem and figuring out, okay, how severe is this problem? How often does it happen? Basic assessment procedures for the problem itself. And then after the problem's been described, data is collected, and the problem has been assessed, then you would figure out a way to intervene. What would be an intervention that would take place for this problem? And you plan that, and then you implement the intervention itself, whether it's going to counseling or going to group counseling or certain actions that the client would take. And then you would evaluate the progress of the client and follow up and see how things were going later. So in other words, if we want to break down these steps of problem solving in another way, it's basically asking, what's the problem? Let me assess it based on my expertise. Let's make a plan to fix it. Now stick to the plan. And then when you come back, I'm going to ask you, did our plan work? It's a lot like when you go to the doctor. I don't know, I am not a fan necessarily of going to the doctor. I often find I wait more in the waiting room than I actually spend time with the doctor, him or herself. But oftentimes, my experience with the doctor is you go there and they will ask me my symptoms and say, what are you feeling? And I might tell them, well, my throat's been really scratchy and it kind of is a really, really sore throat and I've been feeling really tired and I've had headaches and I'm just really lethargic and I just don't feel good these are the symptoms. So the doctor would take my symptoms, that's describing the problem. He or she is going to assess it based on their expertise and their knowledge in the medical field of what those symptoms may mean. Then, based on that, he or she may diagnose me saying, you know what, you've got strep throat. And so here's the plan to fix it. You're going to go ahead and take this medication, this antibiotic for this long, and this is the plan. Stick with it. If you have any issues, come back and call and you can see me and we can check and see what's going on. So this is a lot like the medical model of let me just run down the list of what you're describing. I'm going to use my knowledge and expertise to diagnose it, and then based on that, I will then prescribe you something that you need to do that will help fix the problem. This is the problem-solving model in a nutshell. So if that's the problem-solving model, what are the concerns about this model? I mean, surely it works in the medical field. That's why we have so many doctors that are out there, and that's why we go to doctors when we do feel sick, because they can help us by giving us the right solution, the right medication to fix our symptoms. As your book mentioned, the problem with applying the problem-solving model to work with people and clients in this setting of social work and in clinical counseling is that clients' problems, they're not puzzles. It's not a cookie-cutter fix where one size fits all and there's only one solution that will fix this problem. When I have strep throat and I go to the doctor and I share my symptoms, the doctor pretty much knows this is the antibiotic I will prescribe her and this is how often she has to take it and how long she needs to take it. That's the solution. If for some reason that solution doesn't work, I would come back and he would have another alternate solution that would fit my symptoms. Our clients are too complex, human individuals. God made us in a way that we each think and react and process things completely different. And there are no two people in this world that are alike. And so when you come with circumstances, they're going to be intricate and complex, and it isn't going to be a cookie cutter fix for the clients that we work with. That's what makes it exciting, because we have to be able to learn how to work with them to make things work. So most don't have that single correct solution. This means we have to think more divergently, and that means being able to assess and survey several different perspectives about the problem, and we want to search for workable solutions with the goal of being useful to our clients. So if my goal when I work with my clients is that I help them in the best way, and I'm committed to looking at things from as many different angles and understanding the client's angle, especially in this process, then I will most likely be able to help the client and work with them to find solutions that will work for them, since I don't know what the cookie cutter answer would be for that one client issue, since there isn't a cookie cutter answer. Divergent thinking also equally weights the client's perceptions to the expertise. So in other words, I may have my master's degree, I may be licensed, I may have been in the field for X amount of years. You all may be students that are processing and learning and growing, and you may have your own background of work experience. But that is equally weighted, no matter what we bring to the table. It is equally weighted with what the client brings and what their perceptions are. And this is a very different way of viewing things. And so this is why we're spinning off of the problem-solving model, which says, I'm the expert, I know it all, I went to school, and based on my learning, I know that this is your problem and this is how you fix it. We're stepping away from that view, and in the next chapter we're going to dive into solution-focused therapy techniques and that approach that looks at things completely different. But this is why we need to look at things more divergently so that we can start collaborating with our clients instead of treating them like puzzles as a problem-solving model may pose. So strengths perspective, this is in your chapter, and so I welcome you to find it in your page and read along with me, because we're going to read through each one. And the reason why I'm taking the time to read this, while I know you've read this on your own, I want to make sure that we really emphasize this, because this isn't just a strengths perspective that relates to interviewing skills class or to interview or work with individuals. This is a social work perspective. And so as social workers, we embrace this perspective, and I think it's one of the most beautiful things that we have in our field because of the worth and the dignity and the value that we put on people and the belief that we have in others to be able to change and to find solutions. So the first one is, despite life struggles, all persons possess strengths that can be marshaled to improve the quality of their lives. Practitioners or social workers, that would be us, should respect these strengths and the directions in which clients wish to apply them. So everyone has strengths. It's up to us to be able to help sometimes pull them out when maybe they can't even see their own strength. Number 2, client motivation is increased by consistent emphasis on strengths as the client defines them. So as we work with our clients and we're pulling out these strengths that they've expressed to us, that actually is going to help motivate them to even further improve. Number 3, discovering strengths requires a process of cooperative collaboration or exploration between the client and the helper. Expert practitioners do not have the last word on what clients need to improve their lives. It's not about us. It's not about our expertise at all. In spite of what you may think this is going to turn out to be, it actually is not about us telling clients what they need to do. Thank goodness. Number 4, focusing on strengths turns practitioners away from the temptation to judge or blame clients for their difficulties and towards discovering how clients have managed to survive even in the most difficult circumstances. So this sets us up for being able to not waste time judging or blaming our clients for what has happened to them or what they're going through, but instead to focus on the strengths that they've had to have in order to survive what they've experienced. And the last one is, all environments, even the most bleak, contain resources. Even the most bleak community, even the most bleak family or individual, there are resources there. And as social workers, we become the experts in like a treasure hunt. We're looking for those resources. We're looking for those strengths, and we find them. And that is our expertise and one of the skills that we learn that becomes such a valuable tool as we work with others. So the history of solution building as the chapter wraps up, Steve DeShazer, Insoo Kim Berg, and their colleagues were trying to figure out what works with clients. Up to that point, everyone had done things a certain way. There was a certain theoretical model that was used when working with individuals or families or groups. And these wonderful practitioners said, wait a second, something's got to be different. Something's got to work here. We're noticing some reactions in our clients. And DeShazer was working with that one family, and he noticed that even though they had listed 27, 28 different problems, when he had them focus on what was going right and what was working in the family, when they returned back to him, what happened? They said that they didn't feel like they need to come back. And so that was a huge clue that, you know what, maybe instead of us focusing on only the problems, maybe it's time we start focusing on what's going right and what has gone right and what solutions we can use. And this is where solution building comes from. So this is a paradigm shift. If you are into the field of social work and so far you've thought it was going to be you working with people and telling them what to do and helping them by telling them what to do, this is a very different model that we're going to embark on. And I'm excited to see as you start to understand it more, and it really becomes a paradigm shift from imagining me as the expert that dispenses all of this great advice to all my clients to me as the expert in seeking strengths and collaborating and communicating, and that's where my expertise lies. So we're going to dive a lot deeper into this so it can make more sense for you, but hold tight and be open to looking at things in a different light professionally, because I guarantee you it will make your work with individuals so rewarding when we can collaborate with them instead of looking at them as subordinate to us or inferior to us, where we are the experts. So that's all for today. Thanks for stopping in. We'll see you next time.